Hey, and welcome to Facts Schmacks, the podcast good enough to get you a C.
Minus.
My name is Matt, and I have a story to tell.
And my name is Kev. I have a story to interrupt.
Second time's a charm. Well, Kev, how you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm just dandy, thanks. So as always, we are going to start off today. You have two things that are true to tell me and one thing that is most definitely a lie.
I absolutely do. I also have a little bit of business to attend to afterwards, so yeah, a little announcement for our listener. So today's Friday. Sunday is Halloween. So in honor of Halloween, today's Facts Schmacks game has a bit of a theme to it, and that theme is fear.
Well, I might have chosen the story based on Halloween, too, so it's going to be a little bit of a spooky episode.
Well, we have our first theme show. Okay, so I got a treat for you here, a treat of trickery. So, I have some phobias.
Okay,
so I'm gonna say the phobia, and I'd like you to guess what the phobia is before I tell you.
Oh, all right. So we're kind of, yeah. All right.
Like there's no right or wrong answer.
This is a different game.
Well, there's no points. I thought it would be more fun this way.
Yeah, sure.
So my first one is bathmophobia. Bathmophobia.
It's probably not actually fear of baths. It's probably just fear of. It'd be hydrophobia if it was fear of water, I think.
See what I mean about trickery?
Yeah. Is it something like being afraid of being in a submarine?
No. So that's your final answer.
That was my final answer.
It's a fear of stairs or steep slopes, which is something I happen to have as a fat guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was thinking like bathysphere.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, yeah.
So
all right, well.
So my next one is glossophobia.
Glossophobia.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say fear of shiny surfaces.
You're wrong. It's a fear
I figured.
It's a fear of public speaking, which clearly we don't have. We should be be afraid of what people think of us.
People can't see us, so it's easier.
True. So my last one...
And won't hear us.
Yeah, so my last one is Fistophobia.
Well, clearly, it's the fear of getting fisted.
Fisted in the face, so it's a fear of being punched.
Fistophobia?
Fistophobia.
Well, that one you made up.
I gotta get better at this. All right, so you figured it out. However, I had another one as a joke, but then I was like, that actually kind of sounds legit. So I looked it up, and it was actually a thing. And I was like, who knew? It was autophobia, which I was like, okay, that makes sense. Fear is fear of being alone.
All right, yeah, sure.
But interestingly enough, when I looked up Fistophobia, it brought up the movie Midnight Run with Robert De Niro. Yeah. So,
is there fisting in that movie?
No, there isn't.
Okay.
But there is a scene where...
I'm still stuck on fisting.
Apparently, yeah. One-track mind here.
Yep.
So in the movie, there was a scene on YouTube where he's taking a prisoner or whatever on a plane, and the guy says, well, I can't go on the plane. I have fear of flying, and he starts rattling off all these phobias, and Robert De Niro's character says to him, well, if you keep it up, you're going to have Fistophobia. And I was like, well, I guess that's, it exists.
There you go.
So, whatever. But yeah, that's my game. I'm going to have to get a little better at this, because you've guessed 2 out of 2 now. So I'm going to pull some real trickery on the next one.
I think the first, it was fun having to answer it. But your first one, I thought was better.
Yeah,
I'm going to critique these as we go along. Apparently, that's what kind of guy I am.
That's basically what I do to your stories for the whole episode. So,
true enough.
The other thing is a little order of business for our listener. If you
Point of order.
If you want to listen to all of our episodes, we have a website. The old website, factschmacked, not plural, .xyz, which was purchased for a stunning 87 cents.
You don't have to tell them that.
We've spared no expense for your listening pleasure.
We've spared no expense.
We got the XYZ domain for 87 cents. And that's what I got. So you have a story for me.
Yes, I do, my friend. Kevin,
Matt?
I want to take you back. I want to take you all the way back to spring of 1846.
Oh.
Yes. We are in the colonies. Well, I think we're in America at this point. We're in at this point, America goes to like Missouri and like Illinois, and then there's wilderness. It's about 40 years after Lewis and Clark made their way to the western coast. So just to kind of paint a picture of where we are in terms of displacing indigenous people and taking over their land. America is involved in the longest and possibly greatest game of Oregon Trail ever played. Did you play that game when you?
Fantastic game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's what they're doing.
Is it like the Revenant, the movie The Revenant? We're in kind of that time period where people are just kind of trapping and exploring and settling and.
Yeah, this is more. There's more of an organized push to get people out to California to settle it there at this point. That's like Lewis, and that's probably the period between then and now. Although I don't know when the Revenant is supposed to take place, so I'm purely talking straight from my anus at this point.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that established. It's a 2,200-mile journey that people would walk from Missouri to California.
I won't even walk 500 meters to the store.
Right.
God,
yeah.
I would have just died.
You'd be walking for like 6 months.
Think how skinny you'd be. There was no beaties back in the day.
Well, I think this. Listen, I don't want to spoil it, but this story's not going to go well.
No, I don't imagine it will.
So, yeah, I think these in particular people will wind up pretty skinny.
I think I know what we're talking about. I got a feeling.
You got a feeling?
I got a feeling.
So one group of people in particular.
Can I guess? Can I guess?
Yeah.
Is this the story of the Donner Party?
It is the story of the Donner Party.
All right. Well, in the critique, it's been done, but let's hear it.
There's George and Jacob Donner, and they're joined by their buddy James Reed, and all of their families and employees. 87 folks in all are part of this Donner Party. They're a little late to get started, but they are making fantastic time. Going like 20 miles per day.
Wow.
During the easy part of the trip, which is, that's a clip.
Yeah, especially if you're walking. Did they have wagons and horses and stuff, though?
Oh, yeah. They had I think maybe the picture in your head is like a bunch of people in wagons, but they've got like buffalo with them. They've got cows. It's a bunch of wagons and a bunch of livestock and like 100 people, horses. It's a big party.
So they weren't
the Donner Party.
Yeah, they weren't.
You wanted a party.
You asked for a party. We delivered.
Yeah. Well, you in particular asked for a party last time.
Yeah, we have a theme here going on. Some molasses party. Now we have the Donner Party.
It was not the molasses party.
So just for clarity, these people aren't walking with their own 2 feet. They're riding animals and wagons. Do you think anybody rode like a cow or an ox or a buffalo?
Some of them are walking.
Wow.
The whole thing is going at walking speed.
God damn.
Some of them are walking. They don't have, it's not everybody on horses. Like, there's actually, partway through this, there's one old guy that just gets some... the biggest jerk in this story kicks him off his wagon and just says, walk. And the 7-year-old guy just dies.
Man, that's cruel.
Yeah.
Life was kind of cheap back in the day, you know?
Yeah, it kind of was. It was very expendable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole idea in this trip is that you need to clear you need to get through the Oregon Trail, you need to get onto the California Trail, and you need to clear the Sierra Nevada mountains before it starts snowing. Because once it starts snowing, you are stuck on the other side of those mountains.
You're bingo.
You're not getting through.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not going to go well for you if you do not make it. So they get to this place called Fort Bridger. And here's where we have to take a little historical deviation, you see, because
I think that's what we do on this show.
Well, yeah. It really is, the Wild West in terms of, getting people out there. It's before that. It's the precursor to the Wild West. It's the even wilder West.
Okay.
Trying to get people...
the wildest West, would you say?
I didn't start this podcast with you to get into ranking Wests, okay?
All right, we'll get on with the West of the story.
Oh! I hate you so much. There's this lawyer from Ohio. He had written this book where he proposed this thing. His name is Langford Hastings.
It's a very lawyerly name.
Very lawyer, like Langford Hastings, Esquire.
Yeah.
Barrister at law. Shit, I can't think of anything else to add to the end of this title, so I just made a bunch of noise.
I think that's what our listeners expect.
Absolutely, but
listener.
So what happened? Listener, yeah, you have to you have to go around the Great Salt Lake, and so what would happen normally in the Oregon Trail is you'd go north around it. Now, to be fair, you are starting kind of at the southern base of it. You go north around it and cut pretty far north, and then continue on. So this Hastings guy said, well, if you go south around the lake.
Thank you.
I did say I was a little hungover.
So, like, if you go, I thought we were going to arrive at that point, hopefully before the Donner Party got to their destination.
Yeah. So if you go south around the lake, you'll cut off 300 miles of this trip. You meet up with the California Trail later.
You're talking like what, couple months worth of journey there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it'd be like a month of your journey.
Yeah,
but it's also like, I don't know, 15% of the trip. It's kind of unbelievable that that much you'd be able to save that much by, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I would think that if this was
no, math. I'm not doing math right now. Sorry, continue.
You would think if this was plausible, it would just be the way.
Right. Well, why isn't anyone else doing it, right?
Yeah.
But so this party starts off, and they decide at this Fort Bridger that they're going to take the Hastings cutoff. They're warned by really experienced people to not do it. That it's unsuitable for having wagons on. There's no there isn't like enough roads or paths or anything. Like, everyone is going the other way. It's a well-established cutout trail at this point. It's very easy to go down. But they are allured by this idea that they're going to shave off so much time. So they do it, man. And pretty much immediately, it's not a good idea. They go from making, progress of about 20 miles a day. In the next 16 days, they make it 32 miles.
Oof.
They have to fix and widen the paths to get through. They're literally making roads for themselves as they cut through this wilderness that, it's also just not as accessible. Like, they're going through mountain passes, and there's stories of the wagons having to lock their wheels so that they don't slide down these mountains as they're trying to get down them.
You see, Matt, this is kind of where I think ambition is dangerous, because if I was on this party and stuff, and it's like, oh, we're gonna make this this road, I'd be like, no, fuck that. That road's already made. I can just go down this road.
And I don't know how, like, I don't know why after like 2 days of going down this really shitty path, they weren't just like, you know what, cut our losses. Let's just turn around.
What a terrible idea.
But they didn't, and that speaks to the stubbornness of man, I feel.
Yeah, dangerous ambition.
And, yeah.
Stubborn. Yeah, it's not good.
Stubborn. Just very stubborn. So they do make it through the Wasatch Mountains. I'm probably saying that wrong. Then they have to cross the Salt Lake Desert. While they're crossing the Salt Lake Desert, all their cows and bison run away. And for some reason, it takes them a week to find these animals in a desert. I'm sure there's other stuff going on. Was there dunes? I don't know. But they lose a week to looking for bison. That's just part of the story. Wow. I didn't make it up.
That's shitty.
They went looking for cows.
They're having a bit of a shitty run here.
They are. They finally rejoined the California Trail. Do you think, like, you know, you can... I can imagine you know that they're late, right? It's taken them longer than it would have if they had just gone around. But do you think it saved them any distance?
No, actually, I don't. Definitely not distance. Definitely not effort.
Not distance, not effort, not time. They actually wound up traveling 125 miles further than they would have if they had gone north around the
what a kick in the
Great
nuts.
Salt Lake. Oh, for sure. And now they are the last of this, because, you know, when I say there's this kind of organized effort to get wagons out west, there's like a convoy of wagons going like all summer. There's hundreds of the groups like this going west. So now they are the last in this convoy. So if they run into trouble, nobody is coming up behind them. They're kind of boned if that happens.
Fisted even.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious. So, they in this kind of step of the journey, there's this guy James Reed. He's one of the original. You know, he's one of the original families. He gets into a fight with another guy and stabs him.
Is
just
this
like
the
a
guy
little.
who made the old man walk?
No.
Oh, okay. So
No, there's a lot of
good dude.
No, there's a lot of jerks in this story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he stabs a guy. They're having a fight. He stabs him, and then the group has to kind of figure out what to do because the law doesn't apply. They're not in the United States at this point. They're like the continent, but they're not in the United States. There's no law there.
It's like the whole international waters kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's up to the caravan to figure out what they're going to do. So, you know, some people, he's kind of well liked. Some people, we should hang him. No, we should stab him. No, we should just cut him loose. So that's what they kicked him out. They just cut him loose. Apparently, you know, unarmed and without food. But apparently, one of his daughters snuck out and snuck him a rifle and some food. So
that's decent of her.
Yeah,
I would hope my daughter would do the same for me.
Yes. He's out on his own. He actually he makes it to civilization. He winds up being one of the people that comes back and tries to rescue these people. Not to put too much, not to spoil the story. This is going too much, but you know, if they made it, it wouldn't be such an interesting story.
Yeah, we wouldn't know about it. It would just be one of the many caravans.
Yes, indeed. And in this period, they pick up 2 guides. From the Miwok tribe, which, again, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of. These guys' names, I think, were Louis and Salvador.
Okay.
So already it's pretty, but I think it's Mexican territory at that point, so it's pretty Latinized, I think, would be the term.
Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't try and throw out terms. October 31st, 1846, they arrived at Truckee Lake. Truckee Lake is going to be called Donner Lake in the future, so buckle up. Storms that night. Like not a rainstorm, like a big old snowstorm.
Oh, God.
In fact, it storms that night and then it storms for the next 8 days. They are stuck just on the other side of the Sierra Nevadas.
God, that would have been... Could you imagine being stuck outside for 8 days in a blizzard? I don't even want to walk to my car in a blizzard.
So you're stuck outside for 8 days in a blizzard, but this is just the start of being stuck outside for the entire winter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, true.
Because they're not... Once they get stuck, they realize they're pretty much boned. They spend about a month and a half just trying to survive with what they have. But they've lost, in their trip through the wrong, way, they lost so much of their supplies. They lost so much of their animals. So they're just already in really, really dire straits. They're only 100 miles from where they were going, by the way, at this point.
That's the worst.
It's the worst. So December 16th, 15 people decide that, we're fit, we're young, we're going to fashion some snowshoes out of whatever we can, and we're going to try and make this 100-mile trek to get to somewhere where we can get supplies and maybe bring them back, because otherwise we're all just going to starve out here.
We're goners.
Yeah.
I mean, for perspective, 100 miles is like basically the distance between you and I. A little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe a fair bit more. Like a third more of the distance between you and I right now. I would like to think that if I was starving and dying, I would be able to make that walk. You would think.
Yeah. I mean, it's through a mountain range, though.
True. So you're adding a lot in vertical, and fair enough.
They're basically doing what those people did in the movie Alive at this point.
Yeah. Which is eating people. We're getting there. I'm sorry. I'm so impatient.
Don't you get ahead of me, sir. Don't do it. So yes, this group of people, by the way, that roll out, they came to be known as the Forlorn Hope Party.
Oof.
And arguably, they're the ones who do the best. Well, it doesn't go well for anyone. Anyways, by the way, the two guides are going to go with them. The two Miwok indigenous people are going to go with them. It's led by this guy, Charles Stanton. Like 2 days into this trip, he goes snowblind, and they just leave him sitting on a tree stump. And when they come back, they find his bones.
That's not a good way to go.
No. I kind of get it, though. Like, at that point, they're in a pretty serious situation. They can't really deal with the guy who has suddenly gone blind.
No. And there's probably no sunglasses back in the day.
Probably not in that day. I don't know.
No.
That's a great question. It's just like stained glass. I don't know if anyone had ever thought of staining something cool and then putting it on your face.
Yeah, make some nice aviators back in the day.
Yeah. There is that picture from like the 20s of that guy with the weird welding sunglasses that everyone thinks is from, he's from the future because he looks like a hipster, but, really they just had weird welding sunglasses back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think I've seen that. People are like, how could this guy get back in the 20s?
No, you just, they had stuff like that back then too. Anyways, meanwhile, one of the guys who's going is not doing well. His name's Frank Graves.
Oh, that's ominous.
Yeah, that is an ominous name. He's about to kick the bucket and he knows it. He's got his two daughters here with him, and they're all starving. And he tells his daughters, "When he dies, I want you to eat me."
Oh, God.
And on December 26th, 10 days after they left, he died.
Happy Boxing Day.
So they ate their dad, which was probably traumatic, I have to imagine.
Man, I would never want to eat my dad. That's a horrible, horrible thought.
Yeah. Not long after that, there was... So this... I have a hard time wrapping my head around this story, but there's this guy named Antonio, I think. I've heard it Antoine, but I've also seen Antonio. But he kind of passes out and his hand falls in the... Sure, Tony, yeah. Okay. Tony for short. So Tony falls asleep and his hand falls in the fire, and it kind of starts to burn a little bit. And like maybe he doesn't notice because his hands are all frostbitten or something. That happens to somebody else with their feet. But anyways, they get his hand out of the fire.
Then silly Tony. Like, hey, man, that smells not bad.
Well, yeah, that's kind of... It falls in again, and nobody did anything about it. And then they ate Tony. So we're down Tony. 2 people. Yeah, I know. And this is just in this group of 15 people who've left. We're actually down 3 people because they left the guy behind. Then one other member gets hypothermia. He actually does the paradoxical undressing thing. He stripped off all his clothes and ran into the woods. And then they went and got him and ate him too. And a 12-year-old boy died and they ate him too.
Jesus.
And I hate to break it to you, but he is not the last child that is going to be eaten in this story. Ugh. It is grisly. Luis and Salvador, the 2 guides from the Miwok tribe there, they refuse to take part in this, and they actually just bugger off. And they're hunted down and shot and eaten.
Oh, man, it's like that... It's like those Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. You know, where
like
they
hard target?
Yeah. So they got hard targeted. That's awful.
Kind of. Now, that's a really, truncated version, supposedly. Like, this is like... They just ran across them. The guy who killed him story is that he ran across them days later, and they were just about... those 2 guys are just about dead from starvation, and his people are just about dead from starvation, so he killed them to survive.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not buying it.
No, me neither. I mean, let's be honest, and this is maybe culturally sensitive that we might have to edit out later, but white folk don't have a very good track record of being decent to Indigenous people, especially back then.
No.
Just bastards.
Yeah, I mean, they were literally in the process of driving them off their land. And
I mean, let's...
I was actually, when I was researching this, I was thinking about this. Like, this is, the old adage that, history is written by the victors. Like, this is what we wrote. How scary is that? How bad was it that this is our version?
The sanitized version.
We still look awful.
Yeah, no, we absolutely do.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a conversation we're probably not really culturally equipped.
No, the 2 of us, and the tone of this show is just pure tomfoolery. So we'll leave that subject to other people, but
but we definitely feel very strongly that
we'll make that our PSA for today. That we sucked.
Yeah, look into Truth and Reconciliation.
Yeah, pretty shitty deal we gave.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
7 people out of this 15 make it to. They actually so here's something really sad. They actually run into a Miwok tribe. I'm sure they don't tell them the whole story of how they got there.
No.
Yeah, but they get help from them, which is maybe an extra little layer of skeevy there.
So like this Miwok tribe, I mean, they're in the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's winter, and they're getting by. Like most of these,
I think they were on the other side. I think they just helped them get the last little bit to like
right. Yeah. So they weren't in the heat of it. Like
I don't know
the wrong word, but they weren't in the thick of it.
No,
because I was going to say most of these people would have been like hunter trappers, just as a way of life back then. You'd have to get your own food all the time. You'd think that they would have some kind of resource to sustain themselves.
Oh, they did. Yeah, the Miwoks did for sure. When they got there, they gave him. I read the stuff they gave him. It was like pine nuts, but they had, they knew how to sustain themselves on that kind of land, and these people didn't, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they get there and they immediately start trying to organize people to go back and get the rest of the people who are there. There's like 30 some odd people there at this point. So meanwhile at the camp, February 19th, the first group of rescuers show up at this, camp where the majority of people are. They start calling out people's names, and people just start appearing from like holes in the snow, super gaunt.
Yeah, I bet they'd be like ghostly.
Oh yeah,
Ghoulish.
One woman came out and said, "Are you men from California, or do you come from heaven?"
Jesus.
There was 13 people had died in the interim at that point.
Between when the rescue party left and when the party left to get help. And okay.
Yeah. I don't believe at that point the people in the main camp had resorted to cannibalism yet.
Really?
However, yeah.
Oh.
So this first group of rescuers, because they get there February 19th, it's only like it's 2 months after the other people left. So they were able to last that long. And you got to think maybe part of the reason in sending 15 people out is like, well, if we all stay here and all eat this stuff, we're all going to die sooner. 15 people leave, that helps us spread our resources.
If 5 make
better.
it, then, if one person makes it, then you're all rescued. Yeah.
Yeah. So this group of 13 people have passed away, though, probably from exposure, starvation, gangrene, things like that. You cut yourself in the hand, and it's probably it because it's 1846.
Yeah, I mean, it would be it anyhow, regardless of being stuck in the mountains.
Yeah. So this group of rescuers is able to take 21 people, but there's still a ton of people left.
How many people are left? You said like 30-something, wasn't it?
So here's where I get a little fuzzy on, because I was trying to follow along with how many people were left and how many people, and it always seemed like there was more people left, like kept being left.
So it was like
then we're taking
C- math.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could not quite figure it out. I was trying to keep a running tally, and I actually went in my notes and erased all of that because it didn't make sense. The number I wind up with is like -7 people left in the camp. And so I'm like, all right, clearly I've done something wrong. Again,
Fact schmacks.
We're getting you a C. We're going to get you a
C-.
very broad overview of what happened here. We are not getting into the specifics. So much later, about a month later, there's a second party that gets there. In that amount of time, 3 people have died and they've been eaten. At this point, their stores had gone way too far. Supposedly, the guy who remember the guy who got kicked out for stabbing a guy?
Stabbing
so I'm not sure if it was him or if it's someone else, but someone's kid got eaten.
Oh.
Yeah. Remember I said there was a guy who kicked an old dude off his wagon?
Yeah.
His name was Louis Keysburg, the guy who did the kicking. And he definitely ate someone's kid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Louis.
And he had to tell that guy that he ate his kid.
How do you do that?
It's got to be odd.
Do you put it in a card?
I don't know.
Like a sympathy card?
I don't know how you'd start that conversation.
Yeah, like... Hey, Dave, listen. Things got rough. Had to eat little
Let me tell you.
That's
you
terrible.
had a good kid there. He was delicious. That's maybe a little too far.
Jesus. What a you're just at the edge of human experience. Like that fortunately is something that nobody really has to experience. I mean, there's been, the whole Alive thing, like that movie you mentioned. What was the other big cannibal thing? Aside from like serial killers, which is a whole other story, but there was like one other one where people got stuck, right?
I don't know.
Well, the Donner Party.
I mean, it's happened a bunch of times in history.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah. So, I guess maybe not surprisingly, but maybe not smartly, this Louis Keseberg fellow gets left behind after the second rescue effort. There's 17 more people go out with the second group. I think there's 5 people left at this point. But I've seen conflicting things about a third or fourth group. There might be a third group that went out and took out 5 more people, and then there was 5 people. However that turns out, it winds up at the end that there are 5 people left, and this guy's one of them. And the last rescue / salvage operation at this point, just try and get people's property, is going through there, and they find just this Louis Keseberg fella supposedly surrounded by bodies, like he's taken the brains out of people's skulls. Supposedly there was animal meat there that he just hadn't eaten because he had said the humans tasted better.
What?
Yeah.
So he got like a taste for it.
He did.
Man, they can't,
Allegedly.
You can't bring that guy back to society.
Well, they did.
What?
Yeah, so there's no law there.
Yeah, but I mean, just...
So the guy whose kid he ate said he was going to kill him, and apparently was going to, but was talked out of it. Well, you know, things happen out on the...
I don't think you could talk me out of... Like, that's... And I mean, to make the choice, if it's your only choice, I mean, who am I to judge? Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not in that situation. I can't judge people.
Well, and there were rumors that he had murdered these people rather than... Yeah, right?
Because I was going to ask you, did anybody, like, get a taste for it where they're like, yeah, you know, wasn't that bad? One with a little applesauce?
Well, him, apparently.
Wow.
He was apparently the one who did. There was one of the people who was there never, ever publicly spoke or acknowledged having been there. I mean, I don't know how you'd ever be able to reconcile.
Oh, you wouldn't want to.
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Like,
48 of 87 people survived, which I actually find pretty surprising.
How many, sorry?
48.
48 out of 87.
Out of 87. But, I mean, that's still 39 people who died.
Yeah, how many were eaten? Total, if you had to guess. Like 10, 20?
I think about 10.
Oh,
I think about 10 people were eaten. Maybe 12.
Damn.
It's a lot of people to be eaten.
Yeah, I mean...
You can't be eating that many people.
No.
It's an entirely inappropriate amount of people to eat.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. They were all, like... Most of those families are destroyed in one way or another. Let's say mom and son make it out, but they have to live with the memory of eating daughter and dad. That's kind of a good scenario. The kids were orphaned. There was 1 or 2 families that actually did make it out reasonably unscathed, but the rest of them are just pretty much destroyed.
Wow.
Keseberg sues for defamation.
Keseberg is the...
He's the guy who ate he's
kid,
the last... Yeah.
Who's he sue?
He sued one of the guys who rescued him because that guy just gave a grisly account of what they allegedly found there.
I bet he wishes he left him behind.
Probably.
I'd rescue you from this nightmare and you sue me.
Sues him, and he wins.
Oh.
He's awarded $1, but he has to pay court costs, which is basically the judge's way of saying, technically you're right, but you're an asshole.
Yeah, fair enough.
What happens after this? Well, the gold rush starts. So rather than this horrible experience of these people eating each other, which became very, very, very well known, rather than that deterring people, that actually didn't really do that at all. I think it probably stopped people from taking the Hastings cutoff. I doubt too many people decided to take the longer, more dangerous way after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Truckee Lake, where that happened, became Donner Lake.
Huh. Fascinating.
Probably, yeah. 50-50 shot. If a place is named after you, it's not for something good.
No. So like they're on a lake, so they had water. They couldn't have fished.
No, they tried. They could not.
Really?
I don't know if that was lack of expertise or I don't know, maybe it just wasn't a good. It wasn't stocked. I don't know.
Huh. Wasn't that fascinating?
Yeah, so that's the Donner Party. A little grisly Halloween story for you.
Yeah. Not bad. Well, I've learned a fair bit I didn't know about the Donner Party. It's a pretty dark tale today.
It is a pretty dark tale.
So I guess I'll wrap things up with Kev's closing fact.
Oh,
to add a little brevity to the end of our show.
Absolutely. Brevity?
Brevity, whatever.
I think you mean levity.
Yeah, levity.
Brevity means short, which...
All right, well, we can edit that out.
No, we can't.
Damn it. All right, so to add some levity with brevity, we'll wrap this up here. So Matt, assuming that you're typing in the proper, hands on home, kind of two-handed typing, you got your index on F and J.
Listen, motherfucker, I learned Almina. I type proper.
All right, so
yeah, quiet, Aunt Zelda.
There you go. So typing properly.
Yeah.
The longest word you can type with only your left hand is stewardess. The longest word you can type, with your right hand is lollipop. Anecdotally, I've written both those words into a search bar using only my left hand. And that's our show. And good night.
You're a maniac.